Conquest of Bliss, a podcast about finding light in the darkness. This episode was produced by Cappy Productions. Big thank you and shout out to After Dark, the band. They are fantastic and you can find them on Spotify. If you loved the music in the 90s and they make you feel wholesome and happy, then you're going to love After Dark. They're such a great find. So I highly recommend going to Spotify.com or whatever and looking for After Dark. They'll be the one with the trippy cover and the song Colors. Hello and welcome back to the Conquest of Bliss. I am here with Nick Nieves from the Now Try This podcast. How are you today, Nick?
Hello, everyone out there. I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
I am so good, and I'm so excited to have you here. So we already asked how you are. Okay, so can you tell people a little bit about your podcast? Because it's such a cool concept, and that's why you're here today. I'm really excited.
You know what? I am more than fine shilling for my own podcast. It is a great concept. You're right. Thank you so much. It was my co-host's idea. But basically, for Now Try This, me and my best friend Marcus, we've been best friends since college. We got through the whole gosh darn thing together. We wouldn't have done it without each other. So we're very great friends. And we always realize this nagging sensation, because we're both huge nerds, of loving something, experiencing something, and having nobody to talk to about it. So you go and watch a movie, you watch a TV show, you go do a thing, and it's like, wow, there's no one to talk to, and that's awful. So we created the show where every week, one of us challenges the other one to try one of our favorite, most beloved things. For a quick example, he loves the movie Die Hard. It's his favorite Christmas film. I had never seen it, so we had to watch Die Hard. He had never seen Gilmore Girls, which is one of my favorite TV shows, Formative, and I made him watch Gilmore Girls, and so on and so on, and we go back and forth every week, challenging each other to try something we loved. And then now, more recently, we just added a Patreon, where once a month, we try a challenge from the fans. This upcoming one we're doing is an anime called ReZero that one of our fans challenged us to try the first season of, and that's what our next episode will be about.
That's fantastic. I didn't realize about that added piece. And you kind of answered a question that I had as you were talking. I was going to say...
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm ruining your show. One question at a time. My bad.
I was going to say, because like Die Hard and all of the seasons of Gilmore Girls are not exactly equally weighted in amount of time that you would take.
Oh, sure. Every challenge is weighted depending on what is necessary. So for the Gilmore Girls, you know exactly what Gilmore Girls after that first episode, so that's all he had to watch for that. Whereas we did, for example, another anime recently called Kaguya-sama, Love is War. It's this anime about these two high school people who love each other, but they can't admit that they love each other because the other one has to say it first. And you had to kind of watch the whole first season to get to that love story at the end. So that was with the challenge. It always changes every week. Yeah, sometimes it's short, sometimes it's long.
That's really cool. So the reason that I asked you to come on today is I was reading about your show and I was like, this is a fantastic idea, because I feel like a lot of people have challenges with bravery and have challenges with the desire to do new things. So yeah. I would ask you, since the beginning, like, has your desire to just kind of do things on a whim and check things out changed, or like, do you get your fill from the show, or what does that look like for you?
Listen, Kara, that is a very deep, very important question. But before I answer your question, I'm just curious more so I need to gauge my answer is basically what I'm asking. Are you a person that goes and tries new things, or do you find it difficult to get out there and get out of your comfort zone?
I enjoy getting out of my comfort zone a lot.
Okay.
I like doing novel and strange things, but I will say that I'm not a big pop culture person. I have the attention span of like a gnat. So I have a hard time with pop culture, but in general, I love to just go out and do things just for the sake of doing them.
Yeah, and honestly, that's exactly what the point of the show is, because so you have all these things. We're both huge nerds on the show, so we have our zeitgeists of our bubbles, but it's so easy to get tunnel vision in life about anything, about what you're interested in, about your perspective on things, about your outlooks. If you go on Facebook, it's an echo chamber of everything that you think. If you love Marvel films, you're going to see a lot of Marvel films on Facebook. That's what you're going to see. That's the way it works. And that's mostly why we did the show. And now gosh, I can think of so many things that are now my favorite things because of this show. For example, just a small one is he challenged me to watch Steven Universe, which I had never seen. And I saw it on Tumblr. It was this weird cartoon that I was like, okay, sure, what is that about? And then I got 10 or 15 episodes on the show as a challenge, and I said, okay, it's a children's show. They're 11-minute episodes. I was like, what is this? Okay. I start watching. It's this cute little kid who has these gem alien nannies, and you're like, what is this? Okay, fine. But as you watch the show, it turns out that the show is all about love and about how love can come from so many different places. And it's so empowering. It makes sure kids know about gender and sex and the difference between those things. And, you know, it shows that love can come from platonic love, romantic love, familiar love, found family. It has to do, just for an example, these alien creatures fuse together to make bigger ones, but they only fuse when they're in love. And that's how it happens. And they literally will do a dance together to join. And the show is this big, expansive expression on love. And now it's one of the most important things like in my life that I've seen. Because by the end of the show, you follow Steven and he's growing into this almost superhero kind of figure, finding out what love is. And then the last season, he is aged up to about 16. And he's dealing with the PTSD of having to face all these things as a kid, literally, literally is facing it and trying to figure it out and not asking for help and trying to take everything on himself. And it's like, I know what that's like. I know what that's like, trying to take on everything myself and not admitting to myself when something's wrong and thinking that I need to take care of it because of the traumas of my past. And that's just one example of one thing that we've done on the show that has changed my life that I never would have experienced, because you get in that echo chamber. You get in that comfort zone. You watch the things you like. You will watch The Office for the 16th time because you like it. Why watch anything else instead of trying something else that might change your life, you know?
I feel so called out about The Office thing, but yes,
I was trying to. I'm glad I nailed it.
So I'm curious, like, so before you make a challenge, do you have to have seen and know intimately, or do you guys ever do the challenge simultaneously?
So it's not a rule. It's almost an unwritten rule that we'll have had to legitimately love a thing. There has been one or two random times where we've known, like when the new Avengers film would come out, that we would love it, so we use that as a challenge. There's been a couple of those, I'm not going to lie. But mostly, mostly it's we are bringing something that we legitimately love from sometimes it's recent, but sometimes it's from our past. Like one challenge that I gave was The Runaway Bride, which is a Julia Roberts film from the 90s. And what is that? Why is that important? Who cares about The Runaway Bride by Julia Roberts? But it's legitimately one of the most formative movies of my life. I remember growing up and we didn't have cable. We couldn't afford it. So any VHSs we had at the time was all I could watch. And my mother loved Julia Roberts and Denzel Washington, so that's all we had. And the movie Runaway Bride was the movie that I would watch before I went to bed almost every single night. I've seen the movie literally 100 or 200 times, like literally.
Yeah.
Like I will fall asleep. I will rewind back to where I fell asleep and then pick it back up. I know all the words. And this movie about Julia Roberts, it's not the most important movie in her filmography. It's not the best movie, but something about it has influenced the way I view love and the way I view life. Just for an example, in the film, do you know what The Runaway Bride is about?
Yeah, I'm an 89 baby, so yes.
Oh, freaking fantastic. So there's a point in the movie where Richard Gere, as the reporter, asks all of Julia Roberts' ex-fiancés, how does she like her eggs? And they all respond differently. They all think she likes her eggs completely differently. And this big blow up later in the film where he's like, you don't even know how you like your eggs. And she's like, what the hell are you talking about? And he says, well, everybody thinks you like your eggs differently. You don't know. And then at the very, very end of the film, she reveals how she likes eggs to Richard Gere as they fall in love. But it's this But it's this conceit of you shouldn't lose yourself in a relationship. You have to know who you are to really love someone else. And that's a lesson that I've taken throughout all of my relationships, all the way into my adulthood, because of this dumb movie I saw when I was 10. And I got to revisit it. I got to bring it back up. I got to talk about these things. I got to almost dissect myself and who I am and where I came from. Because, for better or worse, I was kind of a latchkey kid. My mother was a single mom, so she worked almost 24/7 when I was out of school. She had a more nighttime job when I was in school, so I didn't see her a lot, and I was home alone a lot. So media, movies, TV, all these things that I'm challenging have been so influential in formulating who I am as a person. And not to speak for Marcus, the same is true for him. He had a very similar upbringing to me. So these things that he brings up, like a Die Hard, or like, any other random old thing he brings up, or he's also a big video gamer. I'm not, he is. He'll bring a video game in for a challenge. They're like super important to who he is. Mm-hmm. And somehow it's always nice getting to share yourself with someone. That's cool. That's like an added bonus of the show. But the real catharsis is being able to talk about why you are the way you are and what has made you that way. And that's something that we never expected to come out from the show. We thought it'd be like, oh, we're going to talk about like Marvel movies and like random things and like this old anime no one's ever seen or whatever. But instead it's made this whole concept of like, trying to figure out who you really are,
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. Is like, oops, we accidentally stripped ourselves bare.
Every time. I've cried too many times on my podcast.
I have also cried on my podcast, so you're not alone. So I guess like the question I have like that's burning in my brain is, did you expect, I feel like if I like, okay, so starting a podcast, most people who have tried to start a podcast knows that even if you're well-versed in entertainment, it's scary, right?
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I'm just going to put all this stuff out there. On top of that, you're committing for the length of your podcast to try something new every week and put yourself out of your comfort zone. Well, every second week, I guess, but still, putting yourself out of your comfort zone constantly on top of this big thing that's already a comfort zone putter outer of her. But so
I follow that. Yeah.
So can you talk a little bit about like, kind of what you expected? I mean, you just did talk a little bit about it, but a little further on what you expected. Was it scary? And how did you get yourselves to take that first step? Did you just hype each other up?
Well, it's funny. I'm an actor. I'm an actor here in New York City. So I act, I do improv, I do hosting gigs, I do all that stuff. So that's what I do for a living. So I could get on a camera and a microphone anywhere, anytime, do anything. Marcus is not. He works for a theater, but in finance. And, he is way more, he's not willing to put himself out there quite as much as I am. But as soon as it's time to go, he goes. He's very fun. I think he's funnier and smarter than me. He's wonderful. And hey, listen, when in Rome, let's go back to the back matter of where this podcast came from. So I moved to the city and I had a different partner who I came here to do sketch comedy with. That was my dream. That was my goal. I was coming to New York City. We were going to be the next Key and Peele. We were going to be the next Broad City. That was the goal. We started a YouTube channel. We have dozens of sketches on there. That was the plan. And then one day, he quit. He quit me. He quit our friendship. He quit living in the house. It was actually me, him, and Marcus all living together in a house. We stopped being friends. He quit the thing. And I was heartbroken. It's one thing to have something you do fail. It's another thing when before it even has a chance to fail, somebody strips it away from you.
Feels like it's ripped from under you.
Exactly. And this guy was super formative in who I am as a comedian, as an actor, because I never used to think I was funny. I still don't think I'm very funny. I have my moments. It's fine. But now I do comedy full-time professionally. I perform improv for paid audiences every week now in New York City.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. But that's not what I went to school for. I was a dramatic actor. I was going to do Shakespeare and I was going to be on Law and Order and I was going to make people cry. I was not going to be funny. But then he told me, he was the first person to ever tell me I was funny. And then he quit. All my dreams were taken. So I was in one of the darkest places I've ever been in my life. And Marcus, who I don't want to speak to his life, but also wasn't in the best place. But he's always wanted to do something. He's tried little things here and there to like do a YouTube channel or this or that. But he's always needed some kind of creative outlet that he's never found. And then we were both there, deeply depressed.
as one is, yeah.
As most are. And we decided to start this podcast. And that was the inciting incident. Both of us being so sad and not having anyone else to turn to and needing our attention focused somewhere. So that's how the show started. And our expectations of it were just to, at the beginning, just to, record some episodes, have an outlet, do it every week, no big deal. But then the really cool thing is people started listening and, we got reviews, and in those reviews were challenges from fans. Now we have the Patreon to get suggestions from the fans, but we've been getting suggestions from the fans this whole time that we've been doing the podcast. Like, one of the randomest ones we got was Terraced House, which is this reality TV show from Japan on Netflix. It's like their version of The Real World, but there's so little drama that it's mostly them just like eating and like living life. And there's not like hookups and everything. Like that first season that I watched, one of the relationships was just one person saying, "Hey, would you like to meet my girlfriend?" Okay. That's like the extent of the rom. But Kara, let me tell you, this show is fantastic. It is like such a like slice of life look at the human condition that, there's all those little things that we never expected to get. And I remember, I'll never forget, I'm going to find it actually, because we got one review super early on that showed that, wow, we are sharing so much about our lives. And there is people are listening to this show. If you'll indulge me, I'm going to find this review that we got really early on.
Absolutely indulge you, and I'll talk while you look. So unless you found it already, it looks like maybe you did
already find
it. Okay, yeah.
I'm very organized. This guy's name was Ambiguous Cloud, and we have no idea what this is. It wasn't a friend of ours, and he said, "An unexpectedly entertaining and addictive podcast format that allows for very natural banter and thought-provoking dialogue surrounding the culture of millennial entertainment." And then he says, "The two of them make the show what it is, and their perspectives of what they enjoy and the justification they seek from sharing with the other creates a very honest portrayal of who they are as individuals. Nick was raised primarily by his mother, finds solace in relatable characters, and enjoys their development as he recognizes similarities in his own life. Marcus seems to view the world as a true spectator, enjoying what he is meant to enjoy." And he goes on, but it's like, this guy's like seeing us. This guy... People are like
psychoanalyzing you.
People are like psychoanalyzing us as we're talking about Gilmore Girls. Like, what is happening? And that's something we never would have expected that to happen, And now that's why we do the show, for these moments, for these, like the one we just did. The one we're about to do is this anime that he wanted us to watch the whole first season, which was very troublesome because it was very long. We both just finished. We're both like, wow, that was a really long week, but. But the guy was so excited when he sent us that message on Patreon, like, "Hey, this is my favorite thing." Because it's everybody submits, and at the end of the month, everybody that's at least $1 tier votes on the thing. So he won the vote. So he was excited he won. He was like, "I can't believe I won." And then he gave us like a long thing this long about why he gave us this thing. And he was like so excited that the podcast he listens to is about to do his challenge. Like, what better feeling is there than that,
Well, and there's so many layers to this that makes it so cool. And I've had some of the same experiences, and obviously not all the same experiences with my podcasting, but what's like what's fascinating to me is you're telling this story and you're saying you guys were both in a really difficult place, but now you're a New York actor who actually gets paid. That's insane. So it appears that along the way, things really started to get better. And what's really cool is people have this window into that growth, into that change and evidence that exploration is so important.
Yeah. Yeah, it's wild because we can map the show to the changes in our lives. And I'll spill the tea, Cara. This is this is a podcast exclusive for you. We had a stint in the middle there. We've been doing the show about 4 or 5 years. There was a stint in the middle for like a year and a half. We weren't doing the show. We had stopped doing it. And that's because Marcus quit. He went through the biggest life change he ever went in his life. I don't want to speak too much on it because it's his story, but he lost over 100 pounds. He got out of an 8-year relationship. He started going to therapy. Everything for my man changed for the better, and he needed to focus on other things. If you ask him, he will tell you it's because I gave him Twilight and he didn't want to do it. And he said, I remember him specifically saying, I can't waste my time doing things I don't want to do anymore, like reading Twilight, which is super fair. But he was just in such a place that he, like, the podcast helped. I would like to think the podcast helped a little springboard him into like, the beginning of the best chapters of his life. And the same happened to me. From there, during the pandemic, I lost 80 pounds.
Oh, congratulations if you wanted to. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I did. I very much needed to. Thank you. Hardest thing I've ever done in my life. And, now I have, I'm part of different acting troupes. I'm getting paid to do what I love. I'm no longer working in a restaurant, being a server. I'm finally past that point. That's great. And then we came back to it in October, and, I was speaking to my girlfriend at the time about the show, and they met Marcus, and me and Marcus were talking about it. I was like, wow, that show was really fun. I wonder what it would take to bring that show back. How would we bring the show back? Like, what would we do differently? And we talked about it, and he talked about some things that he wanted changed, and I talked about some of the things I wanted changed. And then we went back at it, and now I feel like we're like running on all cylinders. I think we've had some of the best episodes we've ever had. We record it live, which adds like a nice different feel to it. And like mapping out from where we started to where we are now is wild. And I'd like to think if someone listened to the beginning and to the end, it would still be those same two goofy boys saying the same two bad jokes over and over again. But there would be growth there. We've changed, and some of it is because of the show, and that's like, surreal to say the least.
Well, for sure. And I mean, I think to some degree, putting yourself out there is very powerful, but having that added twist of, like I said, just that forcing yourself to be like, I know brave seems like a big word for when it comes to reading Twilight.
No. You can call me brave, please.
I mean, like, it's, the bravery of leaving your comfort zone. And people like really, I think it's really interesting. I've been thinking about this a lot, so just stay with me.
Please.
But I always find it really interesting. My ideas and understanding of bravery has really changed a lot in the last like year or so. Where like I realized, like, people would always say like, it's so brave to go put yourself out there and fight, or it's brave to do this or that. I also think it's brave to not, it's brave to go against expectations. And in a similar way, it's brave to make yourself read something that you're sure that you're not going to like because you want to be open and because you want to share something with someone that you love, know? So
totally.
No, just sit here and compliment you the whole time, No,
that's fine. I mean, I think that's exactly right. There's been tons of challenges that we've done where the other person said, you sure, buddy? Okay. And like, honestly, it makes for some of the best episodes when we disagree and we're like, wow, this thing you love sucks. It's awful. But also, it's like super cathartic when it's like, wow, this thing that was completely off my radar, that I never knew about, that I never thought I would watch, is now one of my new favorite things. Like we did on the second go around, we did Moulin Rouge, which is one of my favorite films. It's a great classic. I'm an actor. I'm a musical theater guy. Makes sense. It's one of my favorites. Marcus has never seen it. And he was like, okay, I'll watch this stupid movie. And then he watched it and he came away, he's like, wow, what a great film. What a weird, absurdist, kooky, amazing thing. And, you know, you can hear that in his life change for the better. And then you got an episode where literally the one before that, I think, was Twin Peaks. And I hated it. I hate it. It is an awful show. There are a lot of people out there that love Twin Peaks, that swear by it, say it's the best television show ever. I think it's awful. It is the worst. Have you seen Twin Peaks?
No.
You don't need to, Kara. You don't need to. If Marcus was here, he'd be like, great show. I'm telling you the opposite. It is not both of us endorsed.
That's hilarious. Okay, so I have a bit of a one-off sort of weird question. I know you mostly do pop culture. Do you ever do anything that's not like watching something or listening to something like you have to try like pineapple upside down cake? Or
we haven't done anything like that yet. We want to in the future. We've done video games, which is still pop culture, but you are doing it. We've done a couple books and a little bit of music, but we haven't done anything out there trying wise, just because I think it's just like a time and money thing. Mm-hmm. But there are totally things Marcus, during that big change of his life, started running, and he's run a marathon now, and he's lamented how someday he would want me to start training for a marathon, and we do an episode of that. And then I do improv in the city, and he's never done improv except on our podcast every week. I try to tell him. But as soon as one of us are in a situation we have that kind of extra money, I totally want to do an episode on an improv class. So it's like in the back of our heads, we're waiting until we get a little bigger, that the monetary restraint isn't in our way. But yes, we want to. That is like the ultimate goal. You know, the ultimate goal, my vision of the show eventually would be for us to try lots of things all over the place and have different video segments and podcasts, and we sell our TV show to FX. I don't know.
I got big dreams too. Don't worry.
Yeah, you gotta shoot for the stars, right? That's how you get to the moon.
And that's basically kind of exactly the whole thing that appealed to me is God, what a rich life to be able to share. Because so my partner and I have a bit of that issue where we don't necessarily like the same. Not even just media, but like he's really into cryptocurrency. I promise you, I hate
this
cryptocurrency.
Podcast is made for you guys coming together, trying things.
Well, that's why, I don't even remember now where I came, it came into my knowledge, but I was just immediately obsessed with the idea. So
that's funny because Marcus also likes cryptocurrency. And he's like, someday I kind of want to again, it's like a money thing, but I totally want to do a cryptocurrency episode someday. And I was like, I'm down. I can't afford a Bitcoin. Right?
Yeah. Oh, nobody can afford a Bitcoin. But yeah, and it's funny because in that lack of cohesion is where I really started to see the but the value in that, that sharing of passion with someone, even if it's something silly or if it's something big. It's incredible, that ability, that I don't know what the word for it is. I wonder if
I don't know, but what you're describing is, I think, perfectly lamented in that song, Breakfast at Tiffany's. It's like, well, I said, what about the Breakfast at Tiffany's? That song? Do you know that song?
Oh, yeah, I've heard it on the radio.
Basically the guy's like, wow, we have nothing in common. But we both like Breakfast at Tiffany's. And it's that finding a shared space for something out there, whether it is a game, a movie, a TV show,
Running.
I think running. Yeah, I don't think, I think opposites attract. I don't think in relationships you need to, and I'm talking platonic and romantic. Mm-hmm. I don't think you need to both be devout to the same things. However, it's exactly what you're saying. Finding that thing that you can come together at, whether you discover it independently or at the same time, is magical. When you can find that one thing that you both, and it can be so small. It could literally be when The Bachelor comes on every Monday night, you both sit down and watches it. But that's your thing, and that's what you do. And the only reason that came to mind is I just introduced my significant other to the Bachelor franchise. And now every Monday and Tuesday night, she's like, so we're watching Bachelor in Paradise? Are we watching Bachelor in Paradise? Which is funny because I watch that show every week because of Now Try This. Marcus had a girlfriend who made him watch Bachelor in Paradise 2-3 years ago. And he was like, challenge for the show. You have to watch it now. And then I got obsessed and I haven't been able to get out. And I'm still like 3 years strong in Bachelor Nation. I can't get out. They keep doing this thing where they pick one of those people to be the Bachelor, the Bachelorette. It's like, well, I want to know if they find love. And then they pick one of those people to be the next one. I was like, well, I want to know if they find love. And now I'm in a loop. I can't get out. I'm in a never-ending loop.
I love that.
Cara,
like, I love how...
This is me. This is Kara. This is my cry for help. Please save me. Save me from Bachelor Nation.
I was gonna say, I love how it sprinkles like random ritual into your life. Like that's like, it's so cool. And what I think is really cool is that even though like obviously you guys have the market for the podcast of it, people can do this in real I was gonna say in real life as if your life isn't real.
No. This is a simulation.
People can do that outside of the show and probably see a lot of the same value. Of course, they won't have the same necessarily like thing pushing at them because it's amazing about podcasting, how podcasting like keeps you on track. You're like, no matter what, I have to put the episode out this day and I have to, The
ritual of it is very helpful for mental health. Really. It really is. It definitely has helped us. And, I think you're getting to literally the number one reason why we do the show every week is when some random person says, I wasn't ever going to try that. And then I tried it and I liked it. Thank you so much. Getting people to try, because the great thing about our show is somebody random will find us because they loved Moulin Rouge and they found a podcast about Moulin Rouge and they listened to this. And then we told them, well, next week we're doing I don't know, High School Musical, the series, and they're like, "Whoa, that seems dumb." I don't know, but maybe I'll give it a shot because they're okay. And then that's it. That's like the joy of it, getting people to try other things.
Well, and even further to that, okay, so I'm gonna like expand out on that idea. What's even cooler is that like if people get into this with say pop culture or whatever, what's cool is that that's a skill. Being able to put yourself out there and step out of that comfort zone, that is a skill. It's not at all a talent where you're just born with it. Nobody likes doing that, right? Yeah. So if you can strengthen that skill in things that are, for lack of a better term, inconsequential, Here,
100%. Yes. My take on Olivia Rodrigo in High School Musical, the series is very inconsequential. I agree.
But, I mean, entertaining, but at the end of the day, the risk is really low, but the skill retains the value that it'll have when the risk is higher. And that's so cool that, you can inspire people to do that because they watch you do it every week. And then it's like, well, I'm kind of an ass if I can't even do it once, or.
No, 100% agreed. I think I see that in my own life. Like I said, I am so different from now until the beginning of the show. And that's one of those things. I'm an actor, but I'm deeply insecure. I have clinical depression. I suffer from things that get in my way. I have anxiety that get in my way of trying new things, getting out there, meeting people, doing all these things that you're lamenting on. And, this show has helped because I'm connecting with people. I see the sharedness and these things we're experiencing, the shared experience of it all. I think, I agree. You're very smart.
Oh, thank you. I just think it's a really cool concept because like one of my favorite things in the world, I don't know how much you know about like the sort of broader picture of the show, but one of my kind of ideas is to help make things more accessible for people. Right.
Yes.
And so therefore, one of my favorite things is like, I hate the word life hacks because I feel like it was extremely overused for a hot minute there. But like, do
you want like one pass really quick? Like one, you got one pass real quick.
So life hacks, where you take things that would be really difficult and either like, you use playfulness to make them more accessible so you can learn that skill when it's inconsequential and entertaining. Or, like I'll corner myself into doing good for myself and same kind of thing. And I love that this is a playful way to learn that skill so that, for the first 6 months, maybe you're just watching Lord of the Rings or, listening to Eminem, even though you only like country. I don't know who only likes country music. I guess some people, but, but you know what I mean?
There are people out there. They exist.
I just remembered when I lived in Missouri, I'm sure I met people who only liked country, but that's neither here nor there. But like I said, you can build these skills and you can make your life better without it being a grind, where every skill, because there's thousands of skills that are helpful in well-being. And it's a lot of pressure to, whenever someone says happiness is a choice, I always get real irritated because I'm like, okay, at minimum, it's like 10,000 choices, like. Wow,
I love that. Yeah, at minimum.
Mm-hmm. So anyways, my point is that I just think it's such a cool idea. And I'm so glad that it exists.
Yeah, no, I'm super, you know what I'm most excited about? Kara, I'm super excited for you to get off of this show and you're going to go peek the back matter and be like, I don't know, let me go check. You know what? I do love Cabaret. Let me listen to the Cabaret episode. And then after the Cabaret, it's like, oh, next episode is Bridgerton. It's like, you know what? I didn't try Bridgerton. Let me give Bridgerton a try, and so on and so on until you are a full-fledged member of the Triers and a full Now Try This listener.
Oh, is that what you guys call the fandom? The Triers?
That's what I call them because they're not big enough to have their own name yet.
I love that. I say Blisscasters, and also I am not big enough to have that either.
You breathe it into existence, right? You breathe these things out, you give it life.
Yeah, a lot of people think that it should be conquistadors because of the conquest, but I don't know if I love that. It's a messy thing.
I feel very comfortable in myself to tell you when you're wrong, and I think that should be the name. I think that's a fantastic name that you're really sleeping on. Let's try that out for size sometime. I'm just saying, keep it in the ether. It's a good one.
So before it seems so redundant. I was gonna say, before we move on to our game, do you want to tell people about your show and where they can find you?
1000%. NowTryThisCast.com. You can get all our socials and all our media. We stream on Twitch, twitch.tv/NowTryThisCast every Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We also release our podcast every Monday. I don't know why I thought there was a word after Monday. The end of that sentence is Monday. We release our podcast every Monday on all podcast platforms. And we do have a Patreon that you can join to become an influencer on what we try every month. That's patreon.com/NowTryThisCast.
That's fantastic. And you're available everywhere. And what about your socials? Where do people find you on socials?
Now Try This Cast at Now Try This Cast. Try This Cast at Now Try This Cast.
All right. Anywhere, if you just type in Now Try This Cast, you're going to be good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. If you're more interested in me than Marcus, you could go find me. But guys, I promise he is much better than me. So you want to go to the podcast.
Yeah. But if you're in New York, try and go to the Improv or whatever, something.
Yeah, I do a lot of improv at the Magnet Theater. Go check out their schedule. They do good stuff.
All right. So you ready to guess some New Zealand slang?
No.
All right. So just so everyone knows, this is from kaitiaki.co.nz or NZ for Americans.
Sounds made up.
It does sound made up. So I like to tell people where it's from in case it's wrong, because I'm not from New Zealand. I can't,
So you're passing culpability is what you're doing.
Yes, exactly. Passing the buck. Cool. All right. So this one I think is pretty easy. What are jandals?
Jandals? Those are your balls. They hang right there. They're jangles. Nice and easy. They're
flip-flops, but very close.
Honestly, anybody who's wearing flip-flops, you know what I'm thinking about you, so that's fine.
Yeah, socks and flip-flops. Have you ever seen that? I'm like, that is so much work to look like that.
I know. Why would you do the extra step to look awful?
Yeah, it's so much work to look terrible. What is a dunny?
A dunny? Oh man, I got myself a dunny. That's just like, it's almost like a honey. That's your girl back home. I got myself a dunny right there cooking me a sandwich. That's how New Zealanders say.
God, I hope a dunny is not your girlfriend. It is a toilet. So, maybe on Friday night I'll take for an hour or two, but
egg is on my face for that one. That one's on me.
Okay. What does it mean to take the Tiki tour?
Oh, the Tiki tour is my favorite thing. You go to New Zealand, you take the Tiki tour. That's when you get off the plane. Immediately, someone hands you a Tiki torch, and you go to every single bar on the island, and you don't stop until you go to the last one. A couple years go by, but when you get to that last one, then you've gone on the Tiki tour. There's only been 17 people to do it so far. Kind of like an EGOT. It's a high respected platform to be at. That's a Tiki tour.
Oh God, I wish that's what a Tiki tour was. That's fantastic. It just means like the scenic route, like to take the long way.
We're saying the same thing.
Yeah, it's basically the same
We're
thing.
saying the same thing.
It's the
I heard no difference.
Years long, 17 years long version. Okay, so we're gonna do two more. What does it mean? Oh, this isn't exclusive to New Zealand. To take the piss.
I feel like this is a trap. Take the piss. This is when you know what they have a lot of in New Zealand?
What's that?
Dogs. So when you take the piss, it's when you take your dog's nose and you put it in their piss so they no longer pee in your house. That's, it's a training thing. I don't know if you're familiar with dog shows, Kara, but that's what they do, okay? That's how dog shows work, okay?
You're very good at improv. I wish I was closer to you. So it means to like tease someone, to be like a harass hole, like I was just taking the piss.
The hell's a harass hole?
Oh, that's a word I made up.
Wow.
It's a harassing asshole. So like, like when you tease your partner or whatever, that's the name for it. Officially.
You tease your partner? Wow.
Oh, I know. I'm really kind of a terrible person, but it's nothing.
I tease my partner so much. She's like, wow, you're kind of mean to me. I'm like, yep.
Yeah. I relate so much to that. You're like, I don't have.
And I'm like, but that's how you know I love you. I'm nice to everyone else but you. That means I love you. It's like a second grader like punching his crush in the face.
Exactly, right. And that's how I am too. I'm like, well, I mean, you really shouldn't have told me you were ticklish if you didn't want me to tickle you when you're trying to sleep. Two peas. Last but maybe least, I mean, I'm not sure. Munted.
Bunted?
Munted with an M.
That's way different than bunted. Munted. Can you spell it?
Munted.
Can you spell it like I'm a 30-year-old and not a 5-year-old?
No.
Okay, fair. Munted. Oh my God. I love me some munted. That's when you, shit. That's, gosh, munted. New Zealand. Wow. New Zealand's crazy. Munted is when you've, a person that is munted has not seen Lord of the Rings. So to become unmunted, you must ceremoniously see, which I don't know if you know, is filmed mostly in New Zealand, the Lord of the Rings.
I actually did know that.
You will have to have seen Lord of the Rings, or else you will be munted, almost like a muggle, like you are, it's like ostracized. It's like a caste system. There's the munted, and then everyone's who's seen Lord of the Rings.
In the right context, that could work. So I'm going to give it to you. It means someone
yeah, 1 point.
It's someone who's either intoxicated or broken. And I feel like people who love Lord of the Rings would definitely agree with your assessment.
Yes, I agree with this too.
So, congrats. You got it. You've got this.
Nice. I won. Thank you so much to all my fans out there. I couldn't have done it without you. I'm taking gold home today, in large part due to myself.
Yeah. I would like to give a big thanks to me and also me. All right. Is there anything you wanted to add before I say goodbye to the audience?
Just thank you for having me on. What a nice safe space you have. Everybody go listen to all rest of her episodes. This was so fun. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. This was so much fun. This was the perfect way to start my day, or midday if you're listening to this midday,
or at night if this is the end of your sleep. Hey, this is the soft soothing tones of Nick's voice getting you to go to bed tonight. Good night, and have a great rest of the day.
This is always the weirdest thing about podcasts is you never know when someone's listening. So when I first started, sorry, a little side note before we say goodbye apparently, so when I first started, I used to be like, good morning and welcome back, and then I was like, I can't say that because what if it's afternoon? Like, it doesn't work.
I think you just lean in. I think you lean in. If you're a good morning person, you good morning all the gosh darn time because it's someone's morning.
Well, now I've gotten so used to saying hello that if I say hello the wrong way in real life, I want to say welcome back to the Conquest of Bliss. And people find it strange.
I just start greeting everybody like that as you start. You're welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, and they're like, oh, okay.
Walk into the dentist's office. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show.
Man, interestingly enough, I did accidentally tell my dentist all about the show the other day because
accidentally. No, you got to get those clicks.
No, I do tell people on purpose, but I don't hide the show. But I can't remember how it came up, but I was super in the worst space. Who wants to go to the dentist, right? I had to get a cavity filled and I was like, I don't want to deal with this. And then we spent the whole time as my face was frozen talking about my show and concepts of happiness, which is great. But my headspace was just not there. So I'm not sure that I was able to present it in a way that was, as smooth and graceful as I am now. Or you
crushed it.
Yeah, maybe he hears this and he's like, damn, I thought she did good.
What's your dentist's name? Dr. D. Hey, what's up? How you doing? The dental hygienist, this is for you. This is going out to you. This is your episode.
He called himself Kevin. So
yo, Kevin, this one's for you, buddy.
All right, well, thank you so much, Nick. This was so much fun. And to my audience, I love you. Bye.